So take this example. If I ask a child to write cow, she writes CWKLFS. And I ask the same child to write mosquito, and it writes MTO. It's like, well, okay, well, that's kind of pretty wrong. What do you mean? But then, especially when you compare, with the ask, you say, this kid he still has a long way to go. But the problem here is by being too objective, we're actually missing the real information. If you look again with more detail, you see some of the key letters of the word are there. The kid actually placed there, and if you start to realize that particular kind of mistake is a very common mental model for kids learning how to write, it's like, oh, actually, she's on track. She thinks that big animals should have big words, and small animals should have small words. This means that she, in her mental model, is I believe that the words are a representation of the animals, not of the sounds, the way we understand. And then once you know that particular mental model, you can go one step further and develop the strategies to challenge those assumptions and make that kid evolve in the learning process. So in this case, if that's the particular belief she has, we can suddenly start to ask her to match big animals with small words and small animals with big words, because suddenly this creates a conflict in her head that okay, my understanding, my beliefs of the world are not working anymore. I need to rearrange and create a new hypothesis that will explain why this thing is happening. And that's how learning happens pretty much. So by discounting the mistakes, we're actually throwing the baby out of the bath water here. The mistakes are often more telling than the successes, because the mistakes help us unveil one's mental model. And I believe that mistakes will change personalization. The mistakes are the real diamonds out there. They are the ones that will help us understand the people's mental models. And mistakes, and what if suddenly we start to pay attention to the unexpected reactions, to the wrong decisions, to the failed attempts? That it's not about profile matching anymore. It's about gathering information to unveil a mental model. That information is very rich. I have very simple examples here. For instance, this guy wants to buy some pannier bags for his bike, and he's researching a lot of bags and adds several bags to the cart. And after a few days, he removes all the items and does not buy anything. It's oh, that's a mistake. Or something that's a wrong behavior considered in some ways. Another example, this same person does intense search on Google for features and reviews of pannier bags. But then after a few days, suddenly stops. There's no more search around that particular subject. And then after a few weeks later, he returns searching again. So if you take some of this information, those behaviors that are often ignored, they are very telling. Especially when you pair with all the information we know about the person. They help us unveil that he is a person that really needs a lot of research and reassurance before buying. He really needs to think a lot and be sure before committing something. And so he hates impulsive buying, for instance. And then once knowing that, by pushing more things, actually you're going to put him more off than trying to actually be more effective. So let's come back a little bit further to this slide. Remember about how I believe adaptive learning can become adaptive UX. It's there's if you see the previous a more common way to think about education, personalized learning, where you have a system that is based pretty much in analyzing a lot of data and creating stricter pathways, and the kids are moving through that pathways based on a rule-based decision tree. So adaptive learning is the next step, where the pathways are defined. They're very dynamic, they're changing, and also analyzing all the time the current data to build the pathways, not only build the scores. So thinking on that, is adaptive UX to be the next evolution of personalization? If you have all the history of mass to macro to micro segmentation and personalization one-to-one, that's pretty much what you're experiencing right now, but it's still very focused in little elements and trying to push your products. Sorry. And actually start to think about how can the whole UX be adaptive to the different user needs. We need to go a step further in also understanding people and also understanding how people think and feel about your content. That's also a harder part to understand. It's not about the behaviors on the site, it's about behaviors paired with the content. That's a very key important point. Netflix is doing some work there in terms of analyzing a lot of breaking down the movies in micro genres in a way you can just how people understand and react to different moments of the movie, not necessarily in a broad sense, but really breaking down moments of the movie and how people relate to that particular moment. And there's a parallel with the education thing I just showed to you, the game, where we have we analyze the whole learning process that is pretty much a mapping of the relationship between how kids understand the written system, that the content is the language, the words, and how the people, the users, the students, they understand that particular content. So we have how mental models there are for understanding how the words are. That's a mapping that was essential for us to be able to develop this platform. And how this kind of new personalization look? We can actually think about changing the whole experience. If you see a person that is confused in of buying, you can suddenly create an experience that is really about creating this kind of help that is in the UX becomes a helping mode that helps you to move around and address and be confident in moving forward. If you're really about having reassurance, you need to okay, go ahead, you're doing fine, this is the right thing to do. You change the whole UX to be about the reassurance mode. It's how can you provide all the signals and all the information that not only about your name in the product, but actually thinking about how the UI providing suddenly new offerings, new services that would help you feel reassured. Or even thinking about the learning model as well. A lot of people are also learning while shopping, while consuming things. And maybe that's also another mode to think about, how the UX can be transformed into a learning mode. So I really like to think you can design a personalization that shifts from pushing people to do things to actually start to caring about people. And also shift from usability about if you prefer this way or that way to actually empathy. I think that is about understanding one's thinking and the way and what they want to do. It's a shift that would help us to really bring a different value for the user here. And I think it would also be beneficial for the companies as a business and for the users as users. But